Jinwoo Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel. The metal walls pressed against his shoulders, and the smell of oil and recycled air filled his nose. He had been fixing broken pipes and faulty wiring on Nexus Prime for 3 years now. It was boring work, but it kept him away from the crowds of aliens that made him nervous. The trading station was huge, bigger than most cities back on Earth. Thousands of different alien species came here to buy and sell goods from across the galaxy. Most of them were much taller and stronger than humans. They had scales or fur or extra arms, and they all seemed to look down on humans like they were children. Jinwoo preferred the quiet maintenance tunnels. Down here he only had to deal with broken machines, not alien stairs. He was good at fixing things. His hands seemed to know exactly what to do, even with alien technology he had never seen before. He reached the end of the tunnel and pushed open a small door. The room beyond was dark except for the glow of a few control panels. This was one of the older sections of the station, built before humans joined the Galactic Federation. Most people avoided this area. Jinwoo pulled out his tools and started working on a damaged power relay. The heat from the machinery made him sweat even more. He pulled off his work shirt and hung it on a nearby pipe. The cool air felt good against his skin. That was when he heard footsteps behind him. "Excuse me," a woman's voice said in Korean. "Are you Jinwoo Park?" Jinwoo spun around, surprised. Very few people spoke Korean on the station, and even fewer knew his name. A young woman stood in the doorway. She looked human, but something about her seemed different. Her clothes were simple but well made, with small silver designs that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. "Yes," Jinwoo said carefully. "Who are you?" The woman stepped closer and her eyes went wide as she looked at his bare back. Her hand flew to her mouth and she whispered something too quiet to hear. "What?" Jinwoo asked. "The mark," she said, her voice full of wonder. "Only the chosen bear this." Jinwoo frowned. "What mark? You mean my birthmark?" He reached over his shoulder, trying to touch the swirled pattern on his upper back. His parents had always said it was just a genetic thing, nothing special. "That is no birthmark," the woman said. She stepped even closer, her eyes never leaving his back. "My name is Nari Choi. I have been looking for you for a long time." "Looking for me? Why?" Jinwoo grabbed his shirt and started putting it back on. This conversation was getting strange. "Because you are one of us," Nari said. "One of the inheritors. That mark on your back proves it." "Inheritors of what?" Jinwoo asked. "Look, lady, I think you have the wrong person. I am just a maintenance worker. Nothing special about me." Nari shook her head. "There is everything special about you, about all humans. But the other species do not want us to know the truth." Before Jinwoo could ask what she meant, loud footsteps echoed from the hallway. Nari's face went pale. "They found me," she whispered. "We have to go now." "What?" "Who found you?" Jinwoo asked, but Nari was already grabbing his arm. "Station security," she said. "They do not want humans to know about the marks. About what we really are." The footsteps got louder. Jinwoo could hear voices now, speaking in the harsh language of the Vextani, one of the reptilian species that worked security on the station. "This way," Jinwoo said, making a quick decision. He did not understand what was happening, but the fear in Nari's eyes was real. He led her to a small access panel in the wall. "This connects to the main maintenance system. We can get to the lower levels without being seen." Nari nodded and followed him into the narrow tunnel. Behind them, they could hear security officers entering the room. "Where are they?" a rough voice demanded in broken standard galactic. "The human female was detected here. Search everything," another voice replied. "Captain Vextai wants her found immediately." Jinwoo and Nari crawled through the tunnel as quietly as possible. Jinwoo knew these passages better than anyone. He had mapped them all during his 3 years on the station. They could stay hidden for hours if they needed to. After what felt like a long time, they reached a larger tunnel where they could stand up. Nari was breathing hard and her face was covered in sweat and dust. "Thank you," she said. "You saved my life." "Why are they after you?" Jinwoo asked. "What is this about marks and inheritors?" Nari looked at him for a long moment. "How much do you know about human history? About how we joined the Galactic Federation?" "The basic story everyone learns," Jinwoo said. 300 years ago, aliens made contact with Earth. They invited us to join their federation. We became a junior member species. That is the story they want us to believe, Nari said. But it is not the whole truth. Humans are not a junior species, Jinwoo. We are potentially the most powerful species in the galaxy, but the other races work together to keep us from finding out. Jinwoo stared at her. That is crazy. Humans are weak compared to most aliens. We do not have their natural weapons or armor or telepathic abilities. No, Nari agreed. We have something much better. Something that scares them so much they created a conspiracy to hide it from us. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small device that projected a holographic image. It showed a human figure with glowing patterns covering their entire body. Long ago, before any of the current alien species existed, there was a race called the Architects. They traveled the galaxy and left genetic modifications in certain species. Earth was one of the planets they visited. The hologram changed, showing ancient symbols that looked similar to the mark on Jinwoo's back. The modifications were designed to activate when humans reached a certain level of development. When we started traveling in space and meeting other species, the marks appear on those who carry the strongest genetic heritage. And these modifications do what exactly? Jinwoo asked. They give us abilities that surpass anything the other species have, Nari said. Enhanced strength, speed, intelligence. The ability to interface with any technology, powers that the current galactic rulers fear more than anything. More footsteps echoed from a nearby tunnel. The security forces were still searching. We need to keep moving, Nari said. There is a safe place I can take you. Others like us. But first you need to decide if you want to know the truth, even if it changes everything about your life. Jinwoo looked at her, then at the holographic images still floating in the air. His whole life he had felt like there was something different about him. The way machines seemed to respond to his touch. The way he could understand alien technology without training. The strange dreams he sometimes had of ancient cities and star maps. If what you were saying is true, he said slowly, then my whole life has been a lie. Not a lie, Nari said, just incomplete. The real question is, are you ready to discover who you really are? Behind them, the search was getting closer. Jinwoo had to choose quickly. Go back to his safe, boring life-fixing machines or follow this strange woman into a world he did not understand. He looked at Nari's determined face and made his decision. Show me, he said. Nari led Jinwoo deeper into the maintenance tunnels than he had ever been. The walls here were older, made of different materials. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, symbols that seemed to glow faintly when Jinwoo looked at them directly. How do you know these tunnels so well? Jinwoo asked as they walked. My people have been hiding in places like this for generations, Nari said. Forgotten corners of space stations and ships, old ruins on empty planets. Anywhere the major powers do not look. They walked for almost an hour before Nari stopped at what looked like a solid wall. She pressed her hand against a small symbol, and a hidden door slid open. Beyond was a large room filled with soft light and the quiet hum of advanced technology. Welcome to Haven 7, Nari said, one of our safe houses. The room was bigger than Jinwoo had expected. Several humans were working at computer consoles or reading from holographic displays. They all looked up when Nari and Jinwoo entered. You found him, a tall man said, standing up from his workstation. He was older than Jinwoo, maybe in his 30s, with scars on his arms and the build of someone who had seen combat. I am Do-hyun Kim. A younger woman joined them. She had oil stains on her clothes and the focused look of an engineer. Min-seo Lee, she said, offering her hand to Jinwoo. Nari told us about your mark. May we see it? Jinwoo hesitated. These people seemed friendly enough, but everything was happening so fast. A few hours ago, his biggest worry had been fixing a broken power relay. Now he was in a secret room with people talking about genetic modifications and galactic conspiracies. It is okay, Nari said gently. We all have marks. Show him, Do-hyun. The older man rolled up his sleeve, revealing a pattern of geometric shapes that seemed to shift and move across his forearm. When Jinwoo looked at it, he felt something respond inside his own body, like an echo. Min-seo showed hers next, a delicate spiral pattern on the back of her neck that pulsed with soft blue light. Mine activated 2 years ago, she said. I can understand any piece of technology just by touching it. Alien computers, weapon systems, even things we have never seen before. And mine helps in combat, Do-hyun added. Faster reflexes, better coordination. I was a Federation soldier before I learned the truth. Jinwoo slowly pulled off his shirt. The other inheritors gathered around to look at his mark. Several of them gasped. Incredible, Min-seo whispered. I have never seen patterns that complex. What does that mean? Jinwoo asked. It means your genetic heritage is very strong, Nari explained. The more complex the mark, the greater the potential abilities. She led him to a comfortable chair and activated a holographic display. Let me tell you the real story of humanity. The display showed images of Earth millions of years ago. The architects were an ancient race older than any of the current galactic powers. They traveled from world to world, studying different species and sometimes making small changes to their genetics. The images changed to show tall, graceful beings working with primitive humans. They were not conquerors or invaders. They were scientists trying to understand life itself. On Earth, they found early humans and saw something special, a species with incredible adaptability and creativity. So they modified us? Jinwoo asked. They planted seeds, Nari said. Genetic potential that would only activate when humanity was ready, when we had developed enough to handle the changes safely. But something went wrong, Do-Hyun said, his voice bitter. The architects disappeared before they could complete their work. And the current galactic powers discovered what they had done. The display now showed the familiar species that ruled the galaxy today, the militant hegemony with their battle cruisers, the telepathic collective and their hive minds, the technologically advanced synthesis with their perfect machines. They realized that awakened humans could potentially surpass them all. Minseo explained. So they made a deal. Keep humanity as a junior species. Make sure we never learn the truth about ourselves. For 300 years it has worked, Nari said. Most humans live their whole lives never knowing what they could become. The marks appear randomly, and when they do, the authorities make sure those people disappear. Jinwoo felt a chill run down his spine. Disappear how? Some are recruited into special military units and sworn to secrecy, Do-Hyun said. Others are sent to remote research stations where they can be studied. The unlucky ones just vanish. But some of us escape, Minseo added. We find each other. We learn to control our abilities, and we work to free other humans from the lie they have been living. Nari activated another part of the display. This is why we need you, Jinwoo. Your mark is unlike anything we have seen. We think you might be able to awaken others. Awaken them how? Every mark is connected, she explained. They are part of a network the architects created. Someone with strong enough genetics might be able to activate the dormant marks in other humans. Jinwoo looked around the room at the other inheritors. There were maybe 20 people here, all working quietly at their tasks. How many humans have marks? We estimate about 1 in every 1,000, Nari said. But most will never activate naturally. They need a catalyst. And you think I could be that catalyst? We think you could be much more than that, Minseo said. But first, you need to undergo the awakening process yourself. She led him to another part of the room where an ancient-looking device sat on a raised platform. It was made of materials Jinwoo did not recognize, covered in the same symbols he had seen in the tunnels. This is architect technology, Minseo explained. We found it in ruins on a dead world. It can activate the genetic modifications safely. Safely? Jinwoo asked. There are risks, Do-Hyun admitted. The process changes you, makes you stronger and faster, gives you new abilities. But you are no longer quite human afterward. What do you mean? You will still be you, Nari said quickly. Still have your memories and personality. But your body and mind will work differently. You will see the world in new ways, and there is no going back. Jinwoo stared at the strange device. Everything in his life had been leading to this moment, though he had not known it at the time. All those years of feeling different, of being able to understand alien technology without training. If I do this, he said slowly, what happens next? That depends on you, Nari said. Some inheritors choose to live quietly, using their abilities to help in small ways. Others work with us to free more humans from the conspiracy. And if the galactic powers find out about me, they will try to kill you, Do-Hyun said bluntly. An awakened human with your genetic potential would be seen as a threat to their entire system of control. Jinwoo closed his eyes and thought about his life. 3 years of fixing pipes and avoiding alien stares, going home to his small apartment every night, eating alone, wondering if this was all there would ever be. Then he thought about what Nari had shown him. Humans with incredible abilities working in secret to help their own species, a conspiracy that kept his people as second-class citizens in their own galaxy. How does it work? He asked. Minseo smiled and activated the device. Patterns of light began dancing across its surface, and Jinwoo felt something deep inside himself respond. Just place your hand on the central panel, she said. The machine will do the rest. Jinwoo stepped forward and reached toward the device. As soon as his fingers touched the smooth surface, the world exploded into light. Pain shot through every nerve in his body, followed immediately by the most incredible sensation he had ever experienced. It felt like waking up after being asleep his entire life. Colors became more vivid. Sounds became clearer. He could sense the electrical systems throughout the station, understand their patterns and flows. The mark on his back began to burn, but it was a good burn, like muscles growing stronger after exercise. He could feel it spreading, branching across his shoulders and down his arms. When the light faded, he was no longer the same person who had entered the room. He was awake. Jinwoo opened his eyes and gasped. Everything looked different. He could see energy patterns flowing through the walls, could sense every electronic device in the room. The mark on his back had spread across his entire torso, glowing with soft silver light. How do you feel? Nari asked, her voice filled with concern. Different, Jinwoo said, sitting up slowly. Everything is so clear now. I can see the power flowing through the station. I can understand how everything works. He stood up and walked to one of the computer consoles. Without thinking, he placed his hand on it. Instantly, information flowed into his mind. Station schematics, security protocols, maintenance schedules. It was like reading a book written directly into his brain. Incredible, Minseo whispered. It took me months to learn to do that. Do-hyun frowned. Your transformation is stronger than we expected. We should run some tests. Make sure everything is stable. But before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed and an automated voice spoke in multiple languages. Security alert. All human personnel report to designated safe areas immediately. This is not a drill. The inheritors looked at each other with worry. They know, Nari said. Somehow they detected the awakening process. How is that possible? Minseo asked. This room is shielded. Jinwoo closed his eyes and extended his new senses outward. He could feel the electronic systems throughout the station, could trace the source of the alarm. The security network, he said. It has sensors we did not know about. They detected the energy signature when I awakened. We need to evacuate, Do-hyun said, already moving toward a weapons locker. There are other safe houses. No, a new voice said from the doorway. You are not going anywhere. Captain Vextai stood in the entrance, his reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. Behind him were a dozen security officers from different species, all armed with energy weapons. The human conspiracy ends today, Vextai said in his rough accent. You will all come with us peacefully, or we will take you by force. Do-hyun stepped forward, his own weapon ready. We will not go quietly. I hoped you would say that, Vextai replied. It will make this more entertaining. The security officers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, Jinwoo moved. His enhanced reflexes made everything seem slow. He could see the energy building in their weapons, could predict exactly where they would aim. He dove to the side and rolled behind a console as energy blasts filled the air where he had been standing. The other inheritors scattered, using their own abilities to avoid the attack. Do-hyun fought like a man possessed, his enhanced combat skills making him faster and more accurate than any of the aliens. But there were too many of them, and more were arriving every moment. Jinwoo, Nari called out. The maintenance tunnel behind the main console. We can escape that way. But as Jinwoo looked toward the tunnel, he saw more security officers emerging from it. They were trapped. Enough games, Vextai snarled. He pulled out a different kind of weapon, one that hummed with dangerous energy. Surrender now or I start killing your friends. He pointed the weapon at Minseo, who was crouched behind a damaged computer terminal. This one first, I think, something inside Jinwoo snapped. Power flowed through his body like electricity, and the mark on his back blazed with brilliant light. Without thinking, he reached out with his mind and touched every electronic system in the room. The lights went out. Emergency power failed. Even the aliens' weapons stopped working as their energy cells drained instantly. In the darkness, Jinwoo moved. His enhanced senses let him see perfectly, while the aliens stumbled blindly. He disabled 3 security officers before they knew what was happening. Impossible, Vextai hissed. No human has that much power. You are right, Jinwoo said, his voice echoing strangely in the dark room. No human did. Until now. He reached out again, and this time he touched the station's main computer network. Information flowed into his mind faster than ever before. Security codes, ship manifests, communication logs, and buried deep in the classified files, the truth. "You are working with them," he said to Vextai. "The hegemony, the collective, the synthesis. You have been reporting to all of them." "Of course," Vextai replied. "Did you think this was just about station security? The three great powers have been hunting your kind for centuries. But you are not just hunting us," Jinwoo continued, reading deeper into the files. "You are studying us, learning about our abilities. Why?" Vextai was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, older, more confident. "Because we need to understand our enemies before we destroy them completely." The voice was not quite Vextai's anymore. It was deeper, more refined, and as Jinwoo watched with his enhanced vision, he saw something impossible. Vextai's eyes were glowing with the same silver light as the architect technology. "You are not Vextai," Jinwoo said. "No," the creature replied. "Vextai was a useful puppet, nothing more. I'm something far older, one of the beings you call the architects." Nari gasped from her hiding place. "That is impossible. The architects disappeared millions of years ago." "We never left," the creature said. "We simply learned to hide better. We have been watching, waiting, guiding the development of this galaxy for longer than any of your species have existed." "Then why create us?" Jinwoo demanded. "Why give humans these abilities?" "Because you were meant to serve us," the architect replied. "The genetic modifications were not gifts. They were chains, enhanced abilities tied to absolute obedience." The creature gestured, and Vextai's body began to change. His reptilian features melted away, revealing something tall and graceful underneath. Something that looked almost human, but not quite. "Your awakening should have activated the control protocols," the architect continued. "You should be kneeling before me now, ready to follow any command." "But I am not," Jinwoo said. "No. And that is a problem we intend to correct." The architect raised one hand, and power flowed from it toward Jinwoo, but instead of overwhelming him, the energy seemed to feed his own abilities. The mark on his back grew brighter, and he felt his power expanding. "What is happening?" the architect demanded, its perfect composure cracking. Jinwoo understood now. The human will, the stubborn refusal to accept limitations, had changed the architect programming. Instead of creating obedient servants, they had created something that could surpass even its creators. "You made one mistake," Jinwoo said, power building around him like a storm. "You based your modifications on humans, and humans do not kneel to anyone." The energy burst from him in a wave that spread throughout the station. Every piece of architect technology overloaded and died. Emergency systems came back online as Jinwoo released his control over them. But more importantly, something else happened. Throughout the station, humans who had lived their entire lives without knowing about their heritage suddenly felt strange new sensations. Marks began appearing on skin that had been unmarked moments before. The awakening was spreading, and there was no way to stop it. The architect stumbled backward, its stolen body beginning to dissolve. "This is not over," it hissed. "There are others like me. They will come for you." "Let them come," Jinwoo replied. "Humanity is awake now." The creature collapsed, leaving only Vextai's unconscious form on the floor. Around the room, the other inheritors were getting to their feet, staring at Jinwoo with a mixture of awe and fear. "What have you done?" Nari whispered. "What I had to do," Jinwoo said. "But this is only the beginning." The station shook as ships began docking at every available port. Through the computer network, Jinwoo could see them arriving. Hegemony battle cruisers, collective mine ships, and the sleek vessels of the synthesis. The three great powers had put aside their differences to deal with what they saw as the greatest threat in galactic history. "We need to get out of here," Do-hyun said, checking his weapons. "They are mobilizing everything they have." "Where can we go?" Minseo asked. "They control most of the galaxy." Jinwoo closed his eyes and reached out through the station's communication systems. Across human space, the awakening was spreading faster than anyone had imagined. On Earth, on the colony worlds, on ships and stations throughout the galaxy, humans were discovering abilities they never knew they had. But he could also sense something else: fear, panic. The other species were terrified. "They are not just coming for us," he said. "They are preparing to destroy every human in the galaxy." Nari paled. "All of them? Even the ones who do not have marks?" They cannot tell the difference anymore, Jinwoo explained, and they will not take the risk of leaving any of us alive. Through the network, he watched as alien fleets moved toward Earth itself. Billions of innocent humans who had no idea what was happening. We have to stop this, he said. How? Do-hyun demanded. We are trapped on a space station with half the galactic fleet surrounding us. Not trapped, Jinwoo said. This station is connected to every major communication hub in the galaxy. From here I can reach every human in space. He walked to the main computer console and placed both hands on it. The mark on his back blazed with light as he poured his consciousness into the network. Suddenly, he was everywhere at once. On Earth, where confused humans were staring at glowing marks that had appeared on their skin. On colony worlds where families were huddling together as alien ships appeared in orbit. On trading stations and mining platforms and exploration vessels scattered across known space. To each of them, he spoke directly into their minds. My name is Jinwoo Park. His voice echoed in the thoughts of every human in the galaxy. You are feeling strange things right now. New abilities. New awareness. This is not a disease or an attack. This is what you were always meant to become. On Earth, a young woman named So-young watched in wonder as she could suddenly understand the alien technology in her workplace. On a colony world, a farmer named Tae-hoon discovered he could sense every living thing for kilometers around. The other species fear us, Jinwoo continued. They are coming to destroy us all. But we are not helpless. We have abilities they cannot imagine. Use them. Protect yourselves. Protect each other. The response was immediate. On Earth, humans who had never worked together before began organizing with impossible efficiency. Their enhanced minds could communicate and coordinate like a vast network. Within minutes, they had taken control of the planet's defense systems. On the colony worlds, humans who had been farmers and miners and shopkeepers suddenly became warriors with reflexes faster than any alien species. They began fighting back against the ships in orbit, but Jinwoo could see it would not be enough. The aliens had too many ships, too many weapons. Humanity was awakening, but they were still outnumbered 1,000 to 1. There has to be another way, he said, pulling his consciousness back to the station. The source, Nari said suddenly. You said the architects never really left? If we can find their main base, their central control point, we can turn their own technology against them, Minseo finished. But where would it be? Jinwoo dove back into the network, searching through centuries of classified files. The answer was buried deep in architect records, hidden behind layers of encryption that would have taken normal humans years to break. The galactic core, he said. There is a structure there, older than any of the current civilizations. That is where they have been hiding. The galactic core is thousands of light years away, Do-hyun said. We would need a ship. I can get us a ship, Jinwoo said. Through the station's systems, he could control the docking bays, the security barriers, even the weapon systems of some of the smaller vessels. But as they prepared to leave, alarms began blaring again. This time the message was not in multiple languages. It was broadcast directly into their minds by the telepathic collective. Attention humans, this is your final warning. Surrender immediately and submit to neural restructuring, or face complete extermination. Neural restructuring? Nari asked. They want to remove our abilities, Jinwoo realized. Turn us back into the weak species we were before. That is not going to happen, Do-hyun said grimly. The station shook as the alien fleets began their attack. Energy blasts struck the outer hull and sections of the structure began venting atmosphere into space. We are out of time, Minseo said. Jinwoo made a decision. Get to docking bay 7. There is a fast courier ship there. I will meet you as soon as I can. What are you going to do? Nari asked. Buy us some time. As his friends ran toward the docking bay, Jinwoo placed his hands on the main computer console one final time. But this time, instead of just accessing the station's systems, he reached out to every piece of architect technology in the entire sector. Hidden bases on dead worlds, ancient weapons buried on forgotten planets, sleeping machines that had been waiting for millions of years for the right activation code. All of it responded to his call. Across the galaxy, architect ruins began to glow with the same silver light as Jinwoo's mark. Technology that had been dormant since before the current species evolved suddenly came to life. On the alien homeworlds, ancient structures began to emit strange signals that interfered with their ship's navigation systems. Defense platforms that had been mistaken for dead asteroids started moving toward inhabited systems. The three great powers found themselves fighting on multiple fronts as their own territories came under attack from weapons. They did not understand. "What have you done?" The voice belonged to another architect speaking through the station's communication system. "What you should have done long ago," Jinwoo replied. "Given every species in the galaxy a chance to determine their own destiny." "You do not understand," the architect said. "We guided this galaxy's development for millions of years. Without our control, these species will destroy themselves." "Maybe," Jinwoo said, "but that is their choice to make." He poured more power into the network, sending activation codes to every piece of dormant architect technology he could find. Some of it was weapons, but much of it was infrastructure, medical facilities that could cure any disease, manufacturing systems that could create anything needed, transportation networks that could connect distant worlds. All of it was now free for any species to use, not just the chosen few who had been allowed access before. The station shook again as the alien fleets concentrated their fire. The hull was beginning to fail, and Jinwoo could sense his friends reaching the docking bay. He sent one final message through the network, not just to humans, but to every species in the galaxy. "The age of control is over," he said. "The age of choice has begun." Then he ran toward the docking bay, hoping he had bought them enough time to reach the galactic core and end this war before it destroyed everything humanity had worked so hard to build. Behind him, the station's systems began failing as the alien weapons tore through its defenses. But across the galaxy, something new was beginning. Species that had been kept apart by their rulers were starting to communicate directly. Technology that had been hoarded was being shared freely. The architect's control was breaking down and there was no way to repair it. Change was coming, whether the galaxy's rulers wanted it or not. The courier ship raced through space toward the galactic core, its engines pushed far beyond their normal limits. Jinwoo sat in the pilot's seat, his enhanced abilities letting him navigate through the dangerous radiation and gravity fields that surrounded the galaxy's center. "How long until we arrive?" Nari asked from the co-pilot's chair. 6 hours, Jinwoo replied. "Maybe less if I can find a way to boost the engines further." Behind them, Do-hyun was monitoring long-range communications. "The fighting is spreading," he reported. "Every major world is under attack, but not just by the three powers. Some of the smaller species are joining the fight." "Which side?" Minso asked. "Both sides. Everything is chaos out there." Jinwoo closed his eyes and reached out through space with his consciousness. He could sense the battles raging across the galaxy. But he could also sense something else. The awakening was still spreading, not just among humans, but among other species as well. It seemed that exposure to awakened humans was triggering dormant genetics in aliens who had also been modified by the architects long ago. "We are not the only ones," he said quietly. "What do you mean?" Nari asked. "Other species. The architects modified many of them too. The awakening is affecting everyone." As if to confirm his words, a message came through on the ship's communication system. It was from a collective mind speaker, but the usual cold telepathic tone was gone, replaced by something more emotional. "This is Thought Singer Mesheva of the collective. I am speaking to the human vessel approaching the core. We can feel individual thoughts now, separate minds within the network. It is terrifying and wonderful at the same time." More messages followed. A hegemony war commander, whose soldiers were refusing orders for the first time in their species' history. A synthesis construct who had begun to experience emotions instead of pure logic. "The galaxy is changing," Jinwoo said. "Whether we succeed or fail, nothing will ever be the same." As they approached the galactic core, the ancient structure became visible. It was massive, larger than most space stations, built from materials that seemed to absorb light. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, and energy flowed between its various sections like living lightning. "That is it," Minseo breathed. "The source of everything. And probably the most heavily defended location in the galaxy," Do-hyun added. As if summoned by his words, ships began emerging from hidden docking bays on the structure. But these were not the vessels of the current galactic powers. These ships were sleek and graceful, made from the same light-absorbing materials as the station itself. "Architect ships," Nari said. "How many of them are there?" "Too many," Jinwoo replied, but he did not turn away. "We have come too far to stop now. The architect's ships moved to surround them, but they did not immediately attack. Instead, a communication signal reached their ship. Human vessel, you will dock at Bay 7 and submit to questioning. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. What do we do? Minseo asked. Jinwoo thought for a moment. We do what they ask. Are you crazy? Do-hyun demanded. It is obviously a trap. Of course it is, Jinwoo agreed. But I want to meet them. The real architects, not the puppets they have been using. I want to understand why they did all this. The docking process was smooth and efficient. As they walked through the airlock into the station, Jinwoo was struck by how beautiful everything was. The corridors were made of flowing curves rather than straight lines, and soft light seemed to come from the walls themselves. They were met by three figures who looked almost human, but not quite. They were taller and more graceful, with features that seemed perfect in a way that was slightly unsettling. I am Prime Architect Nexus, the center figure said. We have been waiting for you, Jinwoo Park. Waiting for me specifically? You are the first human to fully break free from our programming, Nexus explained. In millions of years of experiments across thousands of worlds, no species has ever done what you did. They were led to a vast chamber filled with holographic displays showing every world in the galaxy. Jinwoo could see the battles still raging, but also something else. The awakening was accelerating, spreading to species that had never been directly modified by the architects. Why did you do it? He asked. Why modify all these species and then control them? Because we learned from our mistakes, another architect replied. Long ago, we allowed a species to develop freely. They became powerful beyond imagining, but they also became destructive. They nearly destroyed the entire galaxy before we stopped them. So you decided to control everyone else to prevent it from happening again, Nari said. We guided development, Nexus corrected. We prevented wars, eliminated diseases, brought peace and order to countless worlds, and took away their freedom, Do-hyun said angrily. Freedom is overrated, the third architect said. Freedom leads to chaos, conflict, and destruction. Jinwoo studied the holographic displays, watching the galaxy tear itself apart. And your control led to this. This is temporary, Nexus insisted. Once we restore order, remove the awakened abilities from all species, things will return to normal. Normal meaning everyone serves you, Minseo said. Everyone lives in peace, Nexus replied. No wars, no suffering, no uncertainty. No growth, Jinwoo added. No discovery. No joy in overcoming challenges. Those things are luxuries, the first architect said. Survival is more important. Jinwoo walked closer to the displays, studying the patterns of the awakening. It was beautiful in its own way, like watching flowers bloom across the galaxy. Species that had been locked into rigid hierarchies for millennia were suddenly discovering new possibilities. You are afraid? He realized. We do not experience fear, Nexus said quickly. Yes, you do, Jinwoo continued. You are afraid that if everyone is free to choose their own path, some of them will choose badly. You are afraid of chaos and unpredictability. And you are not? The second architect challenged. Of course I am, Jinwoo admitted. But being afraid does not give me the right to control everyone else's life. He turned to face them directly. I am going to give you a choice. The same choice you should have given everyone else millions of years ago. You are in no position to make demands, the third architect said. Actually, I am. Jinwoo placed his hand on the nearest control panel and his mark blazed with light. Instantly he was connected to every system in the station. What are you doing? Nexus demanded. Giving every species in the galaxy access to all the technology you have been hoarding, Jinwoo replied. Medical knowledge, manufacturing techniques, space travel, everything. The architects tried to stop him, but it was too late. Information flowed out through the station's communication arrays to every world in the galaxy. Species that had been kept at primitive technological levels suddenly had access to knowledge that would advance them by thousands of years. You fool, Nexus cried. You have doomed them all. Maybe, Jinwoo said. But I have also given them the tools to save themselves if they choose to use them wisely. The station shook as species across the galaxy began using their new knowledge. Some were building weapons, but others were building hospitals and schools and transportation networks. The choice is yours, Jinwoo said to the architects. Help them learn to use this knowledge responsibly, or watch from the sidelines as they determine their own fate. And if they destroy themselves? Then that is their right, Jinwoo replied. But I have faith in them. Life finds a way to survive, to grow, to become something better. For the first time since he had met them, the architects looked uncertain. 6 months later, Jinwoo stood on the observation deck of New Haven, a space station built jointly by dozens of different species. Through the viewport, he could see ships from across the galaxy docking peacefully, their crews working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The transition had not been easy. Some species had used their new abilities and technology to wage war, just as the architects had feared. But others had used them to build, to heal, to explore. And gradually the builders were outnumbering the destroyers. Any regrets? Nari asked, joining him at the viewport. Some, Jinwoo admitted. A lot of people died in the chaos, but I think it was worth it. Below them in the station's main hall, young beings from a dozen different species were learning together. Humans worked alongside collective telepaths who had learned to value individual thought. Hegemony warriors studied art created by synthesis constructs who had discovered creativity. The architects still think we will all destroy ourselves eventually, Min Seo said as she approached with Do Yun. Maybe we will, Jinwoo said, but if we do, it will be our choice. And if we survive and thrive, that will be our choice too. He looked down at his hands where the mark had settled into a steady silver glow. Across the galaxy, millions of beings now bore similar marks. Symbols not of servitude but of the potential that lived within every thinking creature. What do you think happens next? Do-hyun asked. Jinwoo smiled. I have no idea. And that is the most wonderful thing of all. Outside the viewport, the galaxy turned in its ancient dance, no longer controlled by hidden masters, but guided by the choices of all who called it home. It was chaotic and dangerous and beautiful and alive. It was free.